Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, you are being greeted by your lovable host, Shandy, and boy do I have a story for you today. Battlefield 6, a highly anticipated new entry in the Battlefield franchise, has recently released an open beta for you and your friends to play. That is, if you somehow manage to navigate past the occult sorcery and voodoo magic required for you to even gain access to the damn thing. How exciting! Unfortunately, with all nice things, there are people out here trying to ruin the fun for all of us, just because they have nothing better to do. Apparently, the Battlefield 6 built-in anti-cheat system has detected and banned over 300,000 players using cheats that enable them to see through walls or allowing them to aimbot. Aimbotting means that there is a built-in system that does all the aiming for you and doesn't require any input from the player in order to hit their shots. But we all know this, right? We all gamers. We've been in these trenches before, and we have used every single controller known to man for the last 20 years. We can recognize a cheater from anywhere because they are notoriously bad at hiding just how obvious they are at cheating, right? Over the last few days, a little old streamer by the name of RileyCS has come under fire for her stream highlights playing Battlefield 6, showcasing her eliminating other players with remarkable levels of proficiency, and this riled up a few certified gamer jimmies in the process, with even distinguished gamer gentlemen like the Actman himself commenting on these blatant aim hacks. Riley has been thoroughly accused of cheating by a good number of people, even being banned by Twitch as a result of her very obnoxious and easily noticeable cheating, right? Like, she is clearly cheating, right? Now, if I was an even remotely funny individual, I'd have a skit here about ending the video early. RileyCS is not cheating. There are a number of people coming out of the woodworks to defend Riley, including other members of the AIM community, pro players, casuals, and apparently the trans.
You know what's really scary about the RileyCS situation?
Blah, 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 blah. Somehow, someway, the Alphabet Community Cheat Squad roams wild and free.
You know what's really scary about this?
A completely blatant Battlefield 6 cheater gets banned, then they get unbanned because they're the right kind of person.
So, all of the normal people are saying that he's cheating.
RileyCS is not cheating.
All of the cheat developers are saying that he's cheating.
Guy who called himself Catgirl and how he was caught using software to give himself a competitive advantage. He uses an overlay in games like Battlefield that places a little floating crosshair on his screen because he struggles to aim.
The only people defending this dude are trans people.
Chat, I think that we're in the year 2025, okay? And people are still falling for the fucking Mason tactics. Okay?
And pros.
Luckily, most of the aiming community has come to Riley's side. Anyone with credentials worth caring about came out and defended her as a legitimate player. Again, I think the main problem is just the general public not being aware of the FPS scene and just what is possible.
Which really makes me wonder, why are so many pros defending this?
It's a symphony strategy, okay? To where you post clips of you like hard flicking in a super like drastic manner, right? And whenever you hit the target, it looks really crazy. This is some editing. You watch a game of this gameplay, but half the clicks aren't hitting targets. Okay.
Why are the pros defending this type of gameplay style? It's a little bit sus because maybe, well, I don't want to start a conspiracy.
Man, shut the fuck.
But don't worry guys, this has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Riley is trans. That is just purely circumstantial. It has nothing to do with the main issue at hand. And don't you let anybody tell you any differently. I'm serious. This is just about the aimbotting. Don't you dare misconstrue my arguments. Anyways, as I mentioned, there are significantly more qualified people than myself currently dissecting Riley's gameplay and coming to the conclusion that she is actually legit, but with the chances of cheating being present if a bit slim. I will be linking a few of them in the comments section, including a video by my friend Boorin, who has taken a vested interest in this topic and decided to give his take on the matter himself as a member of the AIM community and someone who cares a lot about the sport. That's good and all, but what about me? What are my thoughts? I'll be honest, when I first saw the clip, I was skeptical. I am somewhat of a casual gamer myself. I tend to play a lot of games, including many first-person shooters. I'm not terrible, I'm more than capable of making it to diamond in many ranked modes of the shooters I play, and I recognize that healers are boosted androids, making me automatically better than the majority of Marvel Rivals fanbase. Jokes aside, I'm not an expert. I was caught off guard by the clip everyone posted, the clip of Riley flicking to somebody behind a rock. At first glance you'd think, yeah, this is very clearly wall hacks, Riley is cheating. And with the recorded number of confirmed cheaters in this open beta being so high, a lot of people would have reasonable cause to be suspicious. The problems tend to arise once we look a bit further into Riley's gameplay. Let's look at the obvious one. How did she know somebody was there? Well, there are a few reasonable answers, but one of them makes more sense to me than the others. Riley's minimap clearly shows there's an enemy hostile on the point. Now, for those of you who have never played Battlefield, let me just break this down. The point I'm referring to is an objective that the enemy team is currently holding and that Riley's team needs to secure. Call of Duty players might recognize this as domination if they ever bother to secure an objective. If we are to assume that Riley is in fact a good player and not an Iron 4 jungler, then we can assume Riley is capable of looking at her minimap, meaning she is able to discern where this player is before aiming. But what about the fact that she flicks straight to him? Well, she actually doesn't. In the clip, she aims a few meters ahead of where this person would have been had she been looking for him. Once she moves around the corner, her crosshair is a few inches above his head, which would have been a missed shot. Then she corrects herself and gets the kill. Naturally, if she was able to see this person using wall hacks, or even if she was aimbotting, then the need for these micro corrections would not be necessary. There have always been cases of people pre-firing around a corner or behind a wall before they even get a chance to see the person they are fighting. It's natural to make these kinds of mistakes in the heat of the moment, especially if you know somebody is there before you see them. Another aspect of Riley's gameplay that stands out to me is what she hits in the body when she fires. With most aimbots, the shots are usually center of mass or headshots. They never diverge and they never miss, unless of course the other player is behind cover.
Oh yeah, he definitely trains Kovaaks. Kovaaks or Aim Labs, one of those. 100%.
All headshot in my teammates for all headshots. Now, as soon as we start spectating, he turns his cheats off, man. Okay, he didn't turn his cheats off. No, he didn't turn his cheats off. That was a lie. I was trolling. He didn't turn off his aimbot. He didn't. He did. They're still fucking on. I lied. I fucking lied, man. Holy fuck. Yeah, I did lie. I did lie, actually. I did lie. They're back on now, boys. They're back on. She's not back on. He doesn't have to aim. He just hits them, but wiggle. Oh, we triggered him. I think we triggered him.
He's lagging because the speed hacks are catching up.
Oh! Oh!
He's just gunning them all down.
2 people just died. 1 to 2 people just died.
Oh my god. Oh my god!
Talentless, you talentless trash of a trash can of a player. You talentless, no talent, no skill fucking Andy needing cheats and aimbot Andy poop. That's all I'm gonna say. That's what this guy is. No skill aimbot using piece of poop. No skill aimbot using piece of poop.
So let's look at Riley again. In these clips, when you slow it down, you can clearly see that Riley makes a few mistakes. Also, for the record, Riley is a significantly better player than I am. I am not criticizing Riley's gameplay for the sake of calling her bad, I'm doing it to prove a point. Anyways, in these clips you can clearly see Riley missing, with the shots that she does miss not being registered as hits, clearly indicating that the aimbot is not working the way it's supposed to be. Even though she is flicking towards her target, she still has to make multiple micro movements to adjust her aim to compensate for the initial mistakes. Again, this is not something you would normally see in an aimbot, but because her aim is so fast and often rather jerk-like in function, as most flick shots tend to be, people assume it's just the aimbot locking onto the next player. However, just because Riley isn't using wall hacks, instead navigating the game using the built-in minimap, and isn't aim hacking but rather flick or gooning, that doesn't mean she isn't cheating, right? Well, if we are to believe our residential, self-proclaimed cheaters with no qualifications or credentials, as well as a history of stealing other people's code with no knowledge of how it works to sell for a profit, then yeah, Riley is definitely cheating. A recent development that has occurred is the discovery that Riley uses crosshair overlays in her game. These overlays are fully customizable crosshairs which basically tell players where the center of their screen is. So, if a player were to be hit with a flashbang, for example, they would still be able to identify where the center is. Now, while that may not sound like a big deal, because it isn't, what this essentially does for Riley is it does give her an advantage. Since she is able to accurately discern where her screen center is, it gives her information that other players won't necessarily have. Now, is this a massive advantage? Well, no. It's sort of like 1v1ing in a game of basketball. In this situation, you are wearing brand new sneakers, state-of-the-art footwear that makes you feel comfortable while you play, while the other player is wearing an old pair of trainers they've had for years. Technically, you would have the advantage due to your sneakers being better, but the advantage is so minimal that it may as well not even be considered. Because at the end of the day, both players still have an equal opportunity to perform. The same is present here. Riley has a competitive edge, however it isn't so massive as to put her in a different league of her own. In the video claiming that Riley got caught because of this overlay, they provide a segment of EA's terms of service directly covering anti-cheat measures. According to this paragraph here, EA does not condone the usage of unauthorized third-party programs, which include add-ons, mods, hacks, trainers, or cheats that EA believes enables or facilitates cheating of any type, or allows users to bypass, modify, or hack the game interface, providing an experience not expressly authorized by EA. And to give EA credit, so far they've been pretty good at preventing such cheats from being used. As I said, over 300,000 confirmed cheaters were banned. It's something they pride themselves on, as noted by the yearly match infection rate for Battlefield 2042. But there is a problem here. Riley hasn't been banned from Battlefield 6. Now, I know Riley was briefly banned from Twitch due to mass reporting for people who are bad at video games, but she has since returned to continue streaming Battlefield 6, a game she has yet to be banned from despite still using these overlays. So according to this very screenshot, provided by this lovely individual I'm sure, HUDSite's crosshair overlay is not a worthy enough change to the game's interface to warrant a ban. And why would it? Riley is essentially doing the exact same thing as another person putting a sticker on their monitor to know where the center of their screen is. Are people supposed to be banned now because they duct tape a magnifying glass to their screen? It's a remarkably silly thing to be upset by, so why comment on it? I feel this argument speaks to a growing sense of entitlement from people who are incapable of finding fault in themselves, despite being provided with evidence suggesting they could be wrong. This specific find is the last desperate attempt to grasp at straws. Most people who claimed Riley was aim hacking or using wall hacks or cash apping enemy players to look like muffins while they clip farm clung to this pitiful attempt at a gotcha, because they were wrong about the entire issue from the word go. Defenders of Riley are also being accused of shifting the goalpost simply because they find the addition of a crosshair overlay to not be worthy of a ban, despite the fact that the issue with Riley's gameplay was that people accused her of using aim and wall hacks. Now all of a sudden it's completely reasonable to call this a problem. Actually, these gamers have been wrong for days and couldn't handle the idea that someone else was just that much better than they were. So instead of taking it on the chin and moving on, we get these half-assed pot shots from non-FPS players who likely still play on controllers and rely on the built-in aim assist to do all the work for them. Yet when players have actual aimbot in their casual environments, which is actively encouraged by the game itself, nobody other than the people with actual aim tends to complain. While it may sound like I am simply belittling other players, namely console players still using clown sticks, because I am, It's not my only intention. Something people need to understand about criticism for video game mechanics is that usually the best people to do it are the ones who are actually good at the games they criticize. I doubt I'd even be able to provide fantastic insight into a lot of the games I play simply because I don't play them enough. When someone like the Actman claims that you are cheating, it doesn't really reflect well on them when they are proven wrong, especially because he is someone who is not great at the games he plays. I'm also not exactly going to listen to people giving a critique on someone else's skill level when they still claim Halo is among the best first-person shooters to play. As this Tecton Turd Blossom accurately puts it, the casual gamers are the only ones criticizing Riley while the pros defend her. And the reason for why that is because the pros know better. Why else would they even be pros if their understanding of a game's systems and mechanics were at all comparable to casual gamers who got bored of playing StarCraft? These people spend hours of their days, multiple days a week, honing and mastering their craft. While the more casual gamers just play the games they play, they aren't the people who will be spending 2 to 3 hours of their day aim training in aim labs or Kovaaks, trying to improve at a hobby they claim to enjoy so much. Why would they, when the games do it for them? When players like Riley or even Gothgirl, another Battlefield 6 player accused of cheating, have quote tweets and YouTube videos saying that it's impossible for them to snap to pixel-sized targets and accurately hit them, it tends to speak more so to the overwhelming unfamiliarity these casuals have about the games they play. These skills can't be the end result of countless hours of practice in systems designed to improve your aim, or multiple hours of ranked competitive play against other players of similar skill level to yours. It has to be cheating. More casual, non-flick god gamers are not able to hit targets that small, so it has to be illegitimate. I've mentioned the AIM community a few times in this video, and I do so because there are far too many individuals that are comfortable with the idea of dismissing a genuine desire for people to come together and improve as a group. Claims like there are far too many communities. AIM communities aren't real. It's a cover-up for cheating. And my personal favorite, who even cares that much to be spending time practicing? Imagine taking this attitude and applying it to any other sport. Football, rugby, swimming, even something like golf. How dare you have a vested interest in your hobby that you take time out of your day to practice getting better at hitting a ball into a tiny hole? There have been a few members of the fighting game community chirping in on this specific train of thought as well, and thinking it's quite abysmal. Because of course they would. Fighting games, or even action games as a whole, tend to require significantly more practice and playtime to be good at the basics than shooters do. It's why they don't tend to do as well financially as shooters, because the audience they cater to aren't scared of putting in work to enjoy the games they play. However, with that said, people who scoff at the idea of an aiming community or improving your aim through aim trainers boggle my mind a bit. Would they also be against things like looking at frame data to accurately determine optimal combos in your games? Are they against labbing in the void, practicing on dummies or AI? Would they be against players learning how to play a game simply by going through a campaign first before they dive into the multiplayer? What about people who look up tutorials or guides for games like Dark Souls, figuring out where to go and what builds they can make based on the stats they invested in? Where does this dismissive attitude start and where does it end? When does the desire for improvement go from being wholesome to being cringe, and who exactly dictates that? I've clowned on console gamers for good reason.
You watch. Try easiest shit is to aim on the keyboard. Are we right click? You guys act like, man. Bro, you guys be crying like it's so hard. I got no aim assist. I can't aim. I'm playing against all these cheaters, man. I can't aim. Look at this shit. Yeah, can't aim. So hard, isn't it?
Meanwhile,
Use the keys real quick for this flatline. One. Enemy spotted. Okay. Passing the enemy. Shots fired at me. Oh god, I have to click to aim out, chat. I'm gonna jitter aim the out of this guy right here.
Look out, grenade.
What the
There's another squad attacking. Going to phase. 1 minute. Recharging my shields.
But even if I were to look at older console shooters, such as the first 2 Modern Warfare games in the COD franchise, there were incentives to get better at those games built into the games themselves. Things like the training course at the start of the game determining what difficulty was accurate for the player depending on how quickly they cleared the course or how accurate they were. Would it be cringe if somebody said they practiced getting better at the game just by doing laps in the training course so they could improve snap aiming, a skill which absolutely would transfer to multiplayer? At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with being bad at the games that you play. Unless of course you are on my team, in which case please uninstall now. But there's also nothing wrong with wanting to improve. Aiming as a skill is not just a unique thing to 1 or 2 games. It's transferable to basically every single shooter on the market. Riley has a background in multiple shooters, including COD, Battlefield, Destiny, and even CSGO. Of course she has a vested interest in improving, since these are the kinds of games that she enjoys playing and wants to farm clips on. So naturally, in order to get better at these games, Riley ended up with over 1400 hours on Kovaaks in order to improve her aim. Despite this rather annoying incident happening to Riley, she has managed to not just bounce back, but also appears to be thriving in her current state. Her Twitch viewership numbers have managed to increase by over 5 times her normal amount, likely helping to inspire the next generation of aim enthusiasts. And yet, though seemingly innocent and having her ban removed, people just can't seem to accept that maybe they weren't in the right. And speaking of right, we are going right. Very far right. I don't think the issues with Riley started out as a problem with her being trans. Most people who saw this and didn't know better likely just said, oh, they are just cheating, and left it at that. But there was still a remarkably large number of people who took it just that extra step further. These people are what I like to refer to as pigs! They used the controversy as an excuse to simply make fun of and belittle Riley for being trans, linking some of the funniest articles I have ever seen to act as evidence to support their position. And guess what? If you were someone who didn't think their specific viewpoint was that correct, then boy oh boy, I hope you enjoyed your visit to the LGBT community. Why exactly the personal identity of a random Twitch streamer you never knew existed bothers you so much, only God knows. I get that this is just some random literal who's barking up a storm on Twitter and YouTube, but there are quite a few larger names doing the exact same thing. It's shameful behavior no matter the clout of the individual, but it just shocks me that we allow figures with this much influence to scrape the skin off their fingers with the amount of knuckle dragging they do. No matter what pushback they receive, that underlying issue will always be there. Even if we get them to admit they were wrong, get them to admit Riley isn't cheating, get them to say, hey, yeah, I think practicing is really cool, guys, they are still going to have a problem with the literal dumbest issue conceivable. Although there is something enjoyable to take away from this, despite the constant piss drinking and shit slinging, I can go to sleep with a big smile on my face, because I know out there in the world there are people who are incredibly upset at the fact that a person who subscribes to a gender identity they don't agree with is so significantly better than them at the hobbies they claim to enjoy and understand. Thank you all for watching. This was a short video about a topic I was interested in talking about. If you are interested in looking at more deep dives into the topic, I will be linking videos from other creators exploring this cheating scandal and explaining why Riley is nothing more than a mere mortal. I would highly recommend checking out Boorin's video as he discusses each clip of Riley's in significant detail and provides a lot more insight into the area of discussion than I ever could. This was more of a general video about my thoughts and views on the subject. He's also a buddy, so he gets special treatment. Hopefully I get to keep this one. Anyways, take care and see you next time.
I don't think I'd ever be good at this shit. I mean, it's kind of over for me.
I still got it.